Assalamualaikum and very good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today with the topic on YPASM-UMT Chair in Antarctic Science Fellowship, empowering researchers in Antarctic Geoscience and sharing experience on geospatial research with PRIC China. For your information, YPASM will start the call for proposal 2025 on 1st November 2024 until 31st January 2025. So this year, all application will be made via an online system, and we will no longer accept manual submission, which was previously done via email. So therefore, in October, we will have a briefing session on application guidelines, including announcement of the 2025 theme, and then we will go through the system and show you how to fill the forms and the what documents required. So in preparation of the call, YPSM is organizing multiple webinar and online workshops from July until September, including this webinar series on experiences and challenges of Malaysian polar research, and then followed by an expand workshop on crafting a feasible polar research proposal with few experienced polar researchers. So without further ado, I would like to invite geologist Dr. Muhammad Hafiz bin Jofri from Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, University Malaysia Terengganu. He is currently attached in Second Institute of Oceanography, Ministry of Natural Resources, China. We will have a question and answer session at the end of this webinar. Dr. Hafiz, please, thank you.
Boleh nampak ke skrin saya?
Boleh.
Nampak slide? Belum tak nampak slide?
Dah full screen.
Oh, sekejap. Saya ni. Okay, ni boleh nampak kan? Boleh nampak kan saya skrin?
Sudah.
Okay, alright. Okay, so right. Thank you very much to Miss Intan from the YPASM Pendidikan Antartika Sultan Mizan for the warm welcome. And good morning, everyone. My name is Hafiz. I am from the University Malaysia Terengganu. And today I'll be giving you some sharing experience on my journey as an Antarctic geoscientist. The networking that I've made together with a few international researchers, and I'm also going to be sharing with you about the YPASM-UMT Chair in Antarctic Science Fellowship. So untuk hari ini, I think I'll be talking mainly in English, but I will also mix it up with a bit of Malay as well, because I have been informed that most of the participants are Malaysian, so I think it's okay for me to mix it up a bit with Malay. I'll try to make it as santai as possible. I don't want to make it too formal. And if you have any question, feel free to just unmute the microphone and interrupt me anytime, no problem. Okay, or else if I say if you want to wait even until the end of my presentation, it is also okay for me. Or even after this session ended, if you have any question, feel free to send me an email whatsoever. I'm happy to answer any question that is given to me later on. So the topic that I'm going to discuss today is YPASM-UMT Chair in Antarctic Science Fellowship, empowering researchers in Antarctic geoscience and experience on geospatial research with PRIC. Okay. All right, so just a little bit background about myself before I proceed with the sharing experience. I am currently attached at the University of Malaysia Terengganu. I've completed, I would say that I'm still an early career researcher. I'm still developing my skill. I'm still gaining more experience as I just finished my PhD in Earth Science and Engineering at Imperial College London, and that was back in 2019. Right before the COVID, I finished my PhD, and then I started working with UMT because I was sponsored by the scheme Latihan Academy IPTA under the Ministry of Higher Education. After I finished my PhD, I returned back to Malaysia and I went on to serve UMT on the same year. And I during my PhD time, I was given the opportunity to present in the SCA Open Science Conference, and that was in 2016. So the SCA Open Science Conference is basically a conference where polar scientists specifically that are studying Antarctic research, they gathered in this conference to discuss. So it's an international event. It's a huge event. It gathers all polar scientists in different backgrounds, conference and discuss together. So this conference was held every 2 years. So after 2016, there was in 2018, 2020, 2022, and the latest one is 2024. And it is actually happening right now in Pucón, if I'm not mistaken, Pucón, Chile, if I'm mistaken, the 2024 SCA Open Science Conference. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't attend the 2024 conference because I am currently on sabbatical leave. I am currently attached with the Second Institute of Oceanography in China and also with the Polar Research Institute of China as well. And during the 2016 Open Science Conference, at that time, I was awarded with the Early Career Researcher Award. I am a lecturer in environmental geophysics under the Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, and below that is my email, if let's say any of you would like to contact me for that. Internationally, based on my journey, the experience that I have embarked in Antarctic research, internationally, I am attached with the SCA organization. So SCA stands for the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research. I forgot the year it was established, but it was a long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, 6 decades ago, if I'm not mistaken. So SCA is actually an international body. Okay, it holds the thematic organization under the International Science Committee, if I'm not ISC. I forgot the word C, but it's international. It's one of the thematic organization under the ISC. So SCA, as I've mentioned to you just now, it actually holds the ground for polar scientists to discuss together among one another, and how can we address the research gap that is currently ongoing with regards to Antarctic research, and how can we combine our strength together, combine our funding together, and to fill in those gaps. So SCA basically is in charge with initiating, developing, and coordinating high-quality international scientific research in Antarctic region, and that includes the Southern Ocean, and also on the role of Antarctic region in the Earth system. And so the scientific business of SCA is actually conducted by its science group. Okay, so at the moment right now, there are, if I'm not mistaken, there are 3 overarching disciplinary science group that is within SCA, the science groups are life sciences, the physical sciences, and one of it is the geosciences group. Okay, so each of the SCA member countries need to nominate at least one nominees for each countries to participate within each of the group. And so myself, alongside with Dr. Goh Tian Lai from UKM, and also Professor Mazlan from UTM, we have been nominated as nominees, as a member for the Geosciences group. And the Geosciences group is basically, the function is actually to help guide the research, and also to provide information on the activities that have been undertaken in each of the country that we are representing. For example, for myself, together with Dr. Goh and Professor Mazlan, what activities have we been doing with regards to geoscience research in Malaysia, and we will provide those information to this group. Within each of the group, there are much smaller, much more focus group. Okay, focus group, and that is called the action group. Okay, in each of the science group, there are actions group, And within the Geoscience group, there are several action group. One of the actions group that I am actively involved is the SCAR ring action group. And the scarring action group is the purpose of the establishment of this group is because during the IPCC report, the special report on ocean and cryosphere in the changing climate, one of the things that have been addressed in the IPCC report is the sea level rise. Okay, the sea level rise, and we know that the two major contributions to sea level rise are the melting of ice from the Greenland or the Antarctic ice sheet, and the second one is the thermal expansion. Okay, so but the issue right now is there is a huge uncertainty with regards to how much Antarctic ice has been discharged into the water, into the ocean water. We are not sure. So in order for us to determine how much Antarctic ice has been discharged into the ocean, there are two factors that we need to consider. The first one is the ice flow, okay, the ice flowing, right? And the second one is the ice thickness itself. So with these two informations, we are able to determine or measure how much ice has been discharged into the ocean. For the ice flow, it will be it's actually quite straightforward, especially for those that have that are involved in remote sensing or geospatial research. There are a few satellite data that we can use. Mainly, we are using the radar data. For example, the Sentinel-1, Sentinel-1 satellites, the radar set, the ICET satellite as well. Okay, so the satellite data we can use to actually monitor the ice flow. We can use to map the rate of the ice flow itself. So in that, for the ice flow, it's actually quite not quite easy. I wouldn't say it's easy. It still poses a lot of challenges. But the main issue over here is measuring the ice thickness. And the reason why is because currently we don't have much. We do have a lot of data in of ice thickness in Antarctica, but it usually, when we conducted the radar survey to collect the ice thickness measurement, usually we will collect it along the ice flow line, but not across the glacier. Okay, so we don't really have much information about the ice thickness data. And one more thing about the ice thickness itself is changes. The thickness changes over time. Okay, it changes a lot over time. But the thing with ice thickness itself is that if we are able to, because from the ice thickness itself, we can map the bed topography. Okay, we need the ice surface elevation that we can get from satellite data. Once we've measured the ice thickness, all right, we can easily calculate the bed topography itself. Okay, we can calculate the bed topography itself. Once we get, like, for example, high precision ice thickness data, we can actually measure the bed topography in higher detail. Okay, so once we get that, let's say in the future, if we wanted to calculate ice thickness and how much ice thickness has been changed, we can just rely on ice surface elevation data only, because we already have the bed topography information, and we can just monitor the ice thickness over time. Okay, that's okay. But to get the high resolution, high precision ice thickness data is a challenges, and that's the main purpose of the establishment of this action group, where these action groups will actually help to guide. Because the thing is, although sometimes it's much easier, it's much realistic to allow scientists from different countries to conduct their own scientific research for their own purpose. Okay, so for example, UK, they have been conducting ice penetrating radar survey for a long time, starting from the Scott Bell Research Institute back in the 1970s. The US, under the NASA Crisis Operation Ice Bridge project, they are also actively collecting the data. China as well, and from the Polar Research Institute of China, they are also collecting data, and also other countries such as Australia, South. I'm not really sure about. There are a few also from countries from the South America as well. But the thing is, conducting this research individually, it's much more realistic, but it's not really an ideal solution to address the IPCC report itself. And that's why the establishment of this green group is because we wanted to liaise, we wanted to gather all these scientists together from all around the world into this action group and discuss how can we um, support one another, how can we combine the strength, how can we use the resources from different country, how can we because how can we establish an international corporations that we can actually address the IPCC report. And that's why we established this green group. So if any of you would like to be part of the green action group, um, um, they are really open for new members to participate in. Um, so I'm going to talk about that in further detail about the kind of research that we are doing. I'm going to talk about that later on. So this will give you an overview of what we are doing and what are the current research, ongoing research that we are currently doing together. And you can collaborate with some of the renowned scientists in the world, and also collaborate with PRIC on that particular research, which I'm going to explain further on. So this is ever since I returned back to Malaysia, this some of the activities that I've been doing, where I have been working closely with NARC and YPASM as well, where we conducted a series of webinar trying to talk about Antarctic research, educating the Malaysian about why is it important for us to conduct Antarctic research, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's about basically a little bit about my experience with Antarctic research. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the YPASM-UMT chair in Antarctic science. So before we go into the terms and regulations with this fellowship, I'd like to introduce you to Professor Martin Sigurd. Just to give you an overview of just a background, a historical background about this YPASM-UMT chair in Antarctic science. It was first established in 2023. The discussion have started way back than 2023, but the appointment of Professor Martin Sigurd as the YPASM-UMT chair in Antarctic science started on the 1st of January 2023. And that was like a year and a half ago. Okay, so Professor Martin is basically a glaciologist. He is currently the Deputy Vice Chancellor at the University of Exeter. And that was since November 2022. Previously, he served as the co-director of the Grantham Institute Climate Change and Environment, based in Imperial College London. And he has held a lot of administration positions before that. He was the head of the School of Geosciences in Edinburgh University. He was the director of the Bristol Glaciological Centre, so on and so forth. And he has been working together with a lot of people, not just in the UK, also another country, other countries as well. And due to his contribution in the Antarctic science, he has been awarded the Martha T. Muse Prize for Excellence in Antarctic Science and Policy in 2013. And he also the fellow of the Royal Society of Edinburgh, where he got that award in 2007 as well. So these fellowships will actually provide an opportunity to work closely with the renowned glaciologist, Professor Dr. Martin Sigurd. And through his network, even in this project, this fellowship as well, we'll be working closely with the Polar Research Institute of China. Polar Research Institute of China is also one of the key collaborator with Professor Dr. Martin Sigurd. They have been working together. I have been working together with them for quite a long time, especially in terms of addressing research gap in the Amory Ice Shelf, in the Princess Elizabeth Land over there, in basically located in the East Antarctica. with this kind of fellowships, you will have the opportunity to work in that kind of research together with all these people, all these renowned scientists all over the world. So the field of research that is targeted for this kind of fellowship is the geoscience field. And the reason why is because I forgot to mention this just now. One of the reasons why we appointed Prof. Martin, because there is a need to also include or to expand geoscience research in polar science in Malaysia as well. And that's one of the purpose of why we appointed him, because we wanted to expand, wanted to introduce, because yes, there is already geoscience research in Malaysia, but not really on the polar science. And we think that it is also important for us to also expand this polar science to also include the geoscience field as well. And that's why that's the reason why this fellowship established. So the field of research is in geoscience, and the fellowship scheme is up to 50,000 ringgit and will not exceed 12 months. The eligibility criteria, the applicant can be PhD students. So for PhD student, they are allowed, they have the opportunity to apply for this kind of fellowship. Or those within 5 years of having completed the PhD, the day of the deadline for the applications. So for those early career researchers that within the 5 years of after you complete your PhD, you are eligible to apply for this kind of fellowship. The project must be related to polar research, which you don't have to really because later on I'm going to share with you the kind of research that we are doing and what are the current ongoing research that we are also doing. So hopefully after the end of this presentation, you will somehow get an idea of what sort of research that the SCAR committee under the RINGS action group, together with myself, Professor Martin, and also PRC, what we are currently doing. What are the research gaps that we are actually focusing in order to address the IPCC report itself. So with this kind of presentation, hopefully it will give you an overview of an idea. Probably wanted to start this kind of research. You are interested to get started in this kind of research, but you don't know where to start. So this is the platform where you can actually start. And we will actually help to guide you on how to engage in this kind of research. So you don't have to worry. Or maybe if let's say you have any other research idea, that is also okay, no problem. Okay, the applicant will be allowed to hold one YPASM fellowship at a time. It is open to Malaysian citizens and permanent residents, my card holders from university participating in the YPASM Smart Partnership Initiative only. And that includes UiTM, USM, UMS, UPM, UKM, IMU, International Medical University, UMT, UMK, UMP. Uh, there are more IPTA and IPTS that are also planning to participate as well. I was given the information just right before I started this presentation. Probably UTM are also interested to be to participate in the YPSM Smart Partnership as well. So please, I'm not really sure when are they going to participate. I'm not sure about the latest update, but please get in touch with the YPSM staff. Get in touch with them, subscribe to their newsletter or follow their Facebook page and everything to get information about this YPASM Smart Partnership and also the opening of this grant or the fellowship itself. So, okay, the funding can be utilized for the economy class round trip, the accommodations, subsistence, any materials, for example, sample testing, analysis, so on and so forth. Paper publications, the publication fees, the proofread services, and also the registrations fee for the conference as well. But the funding cannot be used to purchase capital purchases, the equipment facilities. I don't think laptop can also be purchased with this funding. I think I'm not really sure. You can check with the YPASM stuff, but I don't think you can purchase those kind of facilities as well. Purchases of the capital assets such as building, vehicle, furnitures are not allowed as well. The third point: purchase of personal computer, laptop, printer, scanner. You are not allowed that. So yeah, that's your answer. The utilities, purchases of book, you cannot pay for honorarium, salaries, allowances for of. All right. So if you wanted to know more about the guideline applicants is YPSM fellowship, you can actually go into the link that I have attached in this slide, and you can actually go through the documentations and everything. Okay. So now I'd like to start off with, I'm going to give you an overview of what kind of research that we are currently doing together with Ring Action Group, with the SCAR IC as well, and how can we the IPCC report. So there are four major components that you need to know. The first one is you need to know about the area. Why is grounding zone area is actually is 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 a region of interest on our side. And then you need to know about the ice flow. Okay, you need to know about the ice flow because the ice flow influence the Antarctic ice discharge. What are the processes that influence the ice flow in Antarctica? You need to know about the subglacial environment, the ice thickness itself, the ice thickness, and also the pet topography itself. Okay, so these are the thing that I'm going to cover in this slide, and I'm not going to take that long, hopefully, and I'm going to explain in layman as possible as well. One thing that we need to know about Antarctica is actually divided into two: West Antarctica and East Antarctica as well. Basically, West Antarctica, the ice is grounded on a bed that's below sea level, whereas in East Antarctica, the bed is above sea level. And what does I mean by that is because basically in Antarctica, in this world, we have this thermohaline escalation where it transported excess heat energy in the equator to higher latitude. But over the years, due to global warming, climate change, and everything, more and more heat has been absorbed into the ocean, and more heat has been transported to higher latitude, and more heat has been brought to Antarctica as well. In Antarctica, somehow, it is actually quite different to Greenland because Greenland's surface melting is quite significant. But for Antarctica, somehow, most of the melting comes from the basal melting, which is the melting on the underside of the Antarctica itself. And that is due to the warmer oceans over the years. So basically, in West Antarctica, since the ice is in direct contact with the warm ocean water, West Antarctica is regarded to be much more unstable compared to the larger East Antarctica. But I'm not saying that East Antarctica are also not vulnerable to the basal melting as well, because there are also other area in Antarctica that is also in contact with the warm ocean water, especially the ice shelf region. And the particular area that we are actually looking at right now is the Emery Ice Shelf area. Emery Ice Shelf, which is located in the East Antarctica. Previously, we are looking in this area over here, the Weddell Sea sector, but now currently we have a new set of data in Emery Ice Shelf, and we are currently working on the data as well. So the grounding air zone, basically this is what I've been mentioned just now. The warm ocean water will go into the underside of this ice shelf, and then it melts the ice that is in direct contact with the ocean itself, and that causes the area over here to become unstable. Okay, to become unstable. The grounding line over here will retreat further inland. So when this grounding line area retreated further inland, it will cause this area to become much more unstable. And eventually the process known as ice calving, okay, ice calving, and the ice front over here will occur, and that will cause a part of the ice shell over here to be broken, okay, to break apart and eventually form the iceberg, which is the freely flowing ice, okay. And that will actually cause sea level to rise, okay. It causes sea level to rise because the thing is, unlike this floating ice, the ice that is still grounded on the back, they haven't displaced their mass into the ocean yet, okay. So that's why if it's break apart from the ice shelf, it will actually form this floating ice, and the mass itself will be displaced into the ocean, causing the sea level to rise. And that is something that we are concerned about. Another thing about this ice shelf, why it is important for us to preserve the stability of the ice shelf, is that because ice shelf acted as it provides the mechanical back force support to the ice sheet here. Okay, so you can sort of think it as something like if you drive along the Plus Highway or the LPT Highway, you can see a lot of slope on the side of the highway. You can see some of the geological, no, the engineering structure, that actually holds the slope, causing the slope to actually fall down or become failed. Okay, you can sort of think the ice shelf as sort of like that engineering structure. Okay, where it actually holds the glacier that is flowing into the oceans from. It's actually preventing the glacier to flow much faster into the ocean. But without the ice shelf over here, if you look over here, without the ice shelf, more and more ice can be easily discharged into the ocean. And that's why it is important for us um, to understand about this, to study about this grounding zone area. Okay. Um, Unfortunately for us, one of the major challenges that we are facing right now is actually mapping the grounding line. Where is the grounding line? Okay, because the grounding line, okay, first of all, grounding line is basically the boundary between the grounded ice sheet and the floating ice shelf. Okay, so ice shelf is a floating ice shelf, but it is still attached to the ice sheet. It is different from iceberg because iceberg is basically an ice that is no longer attached to the grounded ice sheet and is actually a freely flowing ice. Okay, but iceberg itself is actually initially it was part of the ice shelf. Okay, and the ice shelf is still attached to the ice sheet. The boundary between ice sheet and ice shelf is what we call as the grounding line. And the grounding line, one of the way for us to know where is the grounding line is we need to actually look directly where is the grounding line. So, but that is not really feasible because this area over here, sometimes from the ice front to the grounding line, the area is actually, the distance is quite far from one another. So if you wanted to deploy submarine, for example, submarine, and the submarine will actually dive and go along the ice shelf cavity up until it reaches the grounding line area and map where is the area. There are two problems. First is the coordinate. You cannot take the GPS reading once you go underwater. That's the first thing. The second thing is from here to this area, it's quite far. Okay, so you need to have a lot of resources because the submarine needs to dive for a long period of time. Okay, a long period of time before it can reach the ground line. So that's really not feasible because you require a lot of money. So one of the way where we try to map the grounding line, because why we need to map grounding line is because we wanted to know the boundary between the floating ice and the grounded ice, so that we can actually calculate how much ice has been discharged into the ocean. We can calculate the ice sheet mass balance itself. One of the ways how we can actually map the grounding line locations is we will actually look into the satellite images. So this is a model satellite images. So if you look over here, somehow you can actually see the legend over here. Even from here to here, it's already 100 kilometers. So just imagine from the grounding line to the ice front, it's almost 1,000 or more than 1,000 kilometers. Okay, so it's quite far from one another. But one of the way we can use is we can use satellite images. So if you look over here, somehow you can actually see that one of the distinct feature that you can see is that this area is characterized as having a rough ice surface. Whereas in this area, the ice surface is much smoother. And the reason why this one is much smoother is because there's nothing underneath the ice. It's only water. This because it's grounded, because the ice is on a bed, and basically the subglacial features that are present underneath the ice will be reflected on the surface. So based on this distinction, we can map the grounding line. Okay, we can map the grounding line. So you can actually see the grounding line over here has been mapped based on the delineation between the rough and the smooth ice. Unfortunately, however, mapping the grounding line is not as easy as it sounded like, as you can see from this simple demonstration over here, because you also need to consider about the ocean tidal properties. Okay, because over here somehow there are areas, especially this grounding zone uncertainty area, where probably during the low tide the ice is grounded on a bed, but during high tide the ice might be floating. Okay, the ice might be floating during high tide. So you need to consider about the tidal processes. you need to also consider, because over here somehow this kind of grounding line, it uses the qualitative features where it actually dependent on the observation only. They will try to map the grounding line based on the distinction between rough and smooth ice. But there are also other grounding line that adopted a much more quantitative method where they are calculating the gradient between the rough and the smooth ice. So there are a lot of factors that needs to be considered for us um, to delineate the grounding line location. So these are some of the grounding line. Currently, there are 4 proposed grounding line locations. The first one is the Mosaic of Antarctica. As I mentioned just now, it's actually based on the delineation between qualitatively draw the grounding line locations. We have the ice, cloud, and land elevation satellite grounding line. We have this ASAID grounding line. So ASAID, their method is more or less similar to MOA grounding line. Okay, except that for MOA it use qualitative approach, but ASID they use quantitative approach. They calculate the slope between the rough and smooth ice. And we also have the DI and SAR grounding line. So this kind of grounding line, they also factor in the tidal processes as well. So that's why in this grounding line they have considered the event where the high, if let's say the high tide occurred during that particular time. So they have factored in the high tide into when they are mapping the ground line itself. So this is actually a simple overview of this is actually the cross section of the Antarctica, particularly in the West Antarctica, because the ice is grounded on a bed that is below sea level. A different cross section can be observed in West Antarctica because most of the ice is above sea level. But there, like I mentioned, for example, the Emerald Ice Shelf, there are areas in Antarctica where the ice is grounded on a bed below sea level, and that's why there are areas in Antarctica that is mapped as the ice shelf zone. Okay, but over here you can actually see this is the grounded ice known as ice sheet, and then we have the ice shelf, which is the floating ice, but it's still attached to the ice sheet, and we have the ice group over here. The boundary between grounding ice sheet and the ice shelf is what we call as the grounding line itself. And you can see the tidal motion of the floating ice shelf, which is why in some areas during high tide, this particular area might be uplifted, okay, during high tide, but during low tide it might be grounded, and that is the area is what we call as the grounding zone. And this is a particularly sensitive area because this area will control the stability of the ice. And this area, we need to know about this area because in order for us to accurately calculate how much ice has been discharged into the ocean. So that's the first component. The second component is the ice flow itself. Okay, so the ice flow, or basically Antarctica, it's not stagnant. Okay, Antarctica, it's not stagnant. The ice is flowing, but at a slower rate. But if you look over here, somehow you can actually see this is the legend over here. You can see how much the ice moving in a year. So the maximum would be 1 kilometer per year. The ice can move. Okay, so if you look over here, there are areas where the ice is flowing much faster relative to its neighboring ice, and that is what we call as the ice stream. Ice stream is basically similar to river stream, but this one is ice stream. It is an area where the ice is flowing much faster relative to its neighboring part, and there are many factors that influences the ice to flow much faster. The first one is the subglacial environment. Subglacial water pathway, hydrology. Okay, so basically in Antarctica there are water that is not frozen. Okay, there are many factors that causes the water to not freeze. The first one is maybe because of the geothermal heat that is present underneath the Antarctica, and that basically melted the underside of the Antarctica, forming the subglacial hydrology. Okay, another factor is because of the pressure melting point, where if you have like a huge overburden pressure, the melting point will be reduced, and that is what we call as the pressure melting point. And there are also other factors that causes the water to not freeze. Okay, so there's a huge water network underneath the Antarctica, and if the water network is in between the bed and also the ice, it will provide lubricant. It will reduce the frictions between the ice and the bed, and that causes the ice to flow much faster. In Antarctica as well, we have the subglacial lake. Okay, so this is the subglacial lake. It's like the lake. It's like the lake, and it's one of the major geomorphological feature because it helps to regulate the hydrological processes in Antarctica as well. Apart from the water, we also have the area where the bed interface, the bed topography is overlaid with unconsolidated sediment. Okay, we call it sediment till. Okay, and the sediment itself can also provide lubricant where it can reduce the friction between the ice and the bed, causing the ice to flow much faster. So there are some of the processes that actually cause why the ice flow will be flowing much faster. So usually we will employ geophysical methods in order for us to understand the subglacial environment. So these are some of the examples. If you look over here, you can actually see that this area is characterized as having a rough. So this one is ice, this is ice surface, and this is the bed topography. This is the bedrock. Okay, can actually see that the interface is quite rough, which basically indicates that this region, the rough bed surface, will actually increase the friction, causing the ice to flow much slower. Okay, whereas basically for this kind of example, you can actually see that the bed topography is much flat, it's much smoother, and that can actually cause the ice to flow much faster. We also use this geophysical data for us to measure for us to measure the ice thickness itself. Okay, once we get the ice surface, we get the ice thickness, we can easily calculate the elevation of the bed topography. And once we get the bed topography elevation, next time we can easily just monitor the ice thickness variation, the ice thickness level, the changes of the ice thickness level over the years by using ice surface and bed topography information. Unfortunately, at the moment right now, it is we still don't have a lot of data. Most of the data are concentrated to a certain area. We don't have much data. We don't have like a full scale, full area, full data of the geophysical data in Antarctica, and that is why it's hard for us to calculate how much ice has been discharged into the ocean. Okay, because there are many areas in Antarctica that haven't been mapped accurately yet, especially across the ground zone, and that's why we don't because it's crucial for us to get this geophysical data for us to calculate the ice thickness depth. Okay, so once because the two, as I mentioned just now, the two variables that are controlling the ice discharge is first the ice flow, which I have explained to you just now. The second is the ice thickness. Okay, you need to have these two information for us to measure how much ice discharge into the ocean. But as I've mentioned, since we don't have much geophysical data covering the whole of the Antarctica, that's why for us to measure how much ice has been discharged into the ocean, we still don't have that number. We are still uncertain with how much ice discharged into the ocean. And since we are not really sure how much ice has been discharged into the ocean, the total amount of ice contributing to sea level rise is still unknown. Is still uncertain. Okay, and that's why the establishment of this research, the RINGS group under the SCAR, the Ring Action Group, the collaborations between different members, collaboration between Prof. Martin and other world-renowned scientists together with PRIC, is we wanted to address this research gap. We wanted to study this thing. We wanted to study the ground line itself. From this geophysical data, we can also help us to understand the subsurface environment for us to accurately delineate the location of the grounding line. Our collaboration is basically to address this research gap, to get more information about the ice thickness, because once we get all that information, then we can confidently calculate how much ice has been discharged into the ocean. But before that, there are still many things that have not been done yet, and there are still many things that we need to do, and it requires cooperation from different people around the world. These are some of the publications that we have published together with the SCAR RINGS group, with the PRIC, with the YPASM-UMT, NRC, so on and so forth. Okay, and there are still many more research that have not been done yet, potential research that are yet to come up. So if you wanted to contribute, if you wanted to be part of the research community, feel free to contact. You can contact me for further details. You can get in touch with me or get in touch with YPASM, and we can discuss further, and we can discuss on how you can participate, what sort of the things based on your skill set, what sort of the thing that you can actually contribute into this kind of research. So before I end, basically I just wanted to point out about my collaboration with People's Republic of China, with the Polar Research Institute of China. The two key person that I've been contacting with, that I've been working closely with, is Dr. Shui Xiangbin. He is a polar radioglaciologist, and also Prof. Lang. Prof. Lang is not from PRIC, but he is actually from the Beijing Institute of Science, if I'm not mistaken. Beijing Institute of Technology and Science, something like that. Okay, so these are the two collaborators that I've been working very closely together, especially to study the ice sheet processes across the ground zone in the Emery Ice Shelf. And that is actually our current research together with them. We have collected, previously we don't have much data over here. PRIC, Polar Research Institute of China, is actually the first polar research institute in this world that have comprehensively collected radar data across the Emery Ice Shelf in Antarctica over here. So we have many data set. All right, the data have just been processed but have not been analyzed yet, and there are a lot of data that have not been analyzed yet. And there's a lot of work that we need to do, and currently we are working on that. And from this fellowship, if any of you are interested to also contribute, to also be work on this kind of project, you don't have to worry about the facilities. There are facilities. You don't have to worry about the data. There are a lot of data that we can work on. We can work on together in this kind of research. And if you are interested to apply for the fellowships focusing in this type of research, I am happy to help. These are my contact number. You can email me and we can discuss further later on. So I think I've taken, as I'm supposed to give a 30-minute presentation, but I've taken more than that. But I hope that's okay. It's still before 11 o'clock. So I'll pass this back to Miss Intan. If you have any question, I am happy to answer any question that you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hafiz, for the valuable information shared today. We hope that the participants today have some ideas on planning research project, both in research grant or fellowship scheme on geosciences, or to establish a collaboration with PRIC China. So those interested can contact Dr. Hafiz, get more information. And you guys can prepare for the upcoming cycle. We really hope to see more Malaysians to be involved in Antarctic research, especially in the geosciences field. Any questions from the audience for Dr. Hafiz or for YPASM? You can just go unmute and...
Yeah, there's one question, Anna. Yes, Anna? Okay, that's a good question. At the moment, the radar data from basically, and the question is the radar data is open for everyone? Okay, so currently the radar data that belongs to PRIC, they have not opened it yet to everyone, because currently they wanted to publish a paper about the data itself. And they're going to open up a database. They are going to open up a database, and they're going to put all the data into that database. And they wanted to publish like it's just a short publication on introduction of the data itself. Okay, so once they have published, it's not really a scientific paper. It's just like a data paper, something like that. So if anyone of you are interested to use the data, basically you can just cite that paper. So that they wanted to publish that paper. I think there's one journal that is focusing on publishing data improve, if I'm mistaken, data improve journal, if I'm mistaken. So they are waiting for that. But that piece of data in Emery Ice Shelf is actually located in Emery Ice Shelf, belonging to PRIC. They are going to release soon once they have published the data. But there are also other data sets as well from other part of Antarctica. Currently, if I'm mistaken, SPRI, Scott Polar Research Institute data, I'm not sure whether it's available online, but for BAS, British Antarctic Survey radar data, it is actually available online. Let me search for it for a while. BAS geophysical data. You can just Google that. Yes, I'll attach this link into the chat box over here. And also another one is the NASA Operation Ice Bridge Project data crisis. Yeah, data crisis. Okay, so I've attached that. Basically, BS is in the UK, whereas crisis is in the US. Okay, so that actually the tooling. Oh, I actually direct message to not to everyone. Okay, I'll put it up to everyone. Oh yeah. Okay, so that are actually the two links. So one is it belonging to British Antarctic Survey, another one actually belongs to NASA Operation Ice Bridge Project. So they have a lot of data in their website. In their website, you can actually look into. You can actually explore the website. You can look into the data itself. And there's a README section as well. There's a README section as well where you can actually look into each of the data itself. A lot of the data that is available in these two websites has not been analyzed properly yet because there are a lot of database. There are a lot of data. I remember I published one of the paper that I published in Nature Communication. I solely rely on the secondary data provided by British Antarctic Survey and CRISIS project. So it's actually in this two data, it's actually like for me personally, I would view it as like first come first serve. Okay, first come first serve. Whoever utilize data, whoever finds any interesting features from the data, you get to publish it firsthand. You just need to cite these two data sources, provide some acknowledgement in the acknowledgement section. Other than you can actually claim the research as yours. You can publish the paper. There's a lot of data that is available in each of the database. For the Polar Research Institute of China, as I mentioned just now, they haven't released yet. But once they have published the data paper, they will make it public for everyone to use it. I hope that answers your question. Any other question? I guess there's no more question, I guess. But if you have any question, feel free to just send me an email, no problem. Or you can contact with YPASM and YPASM will direct you to me.
If there's no more questions, we will end our webinar here today. Recordings of today's session will be uploaded to YPASM's official YouTube channel for you to rewatch or for further reference. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Hafiz.
Right. Thank you very much, YPASM, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Hafiz. Thank you.
Thank you.
YPASM.